I should have known something was wrong when Diana insisted on handling all the wedding vendor payments herself. "Darling, it's tradition," she'd said, patting my hand with that condescending smile I'd grown to hate. "The mother of the groom always handles these things. Besides, you're so busy with your new promotion. Let me take care of everything." My fiancé and Michael thought I was being paranoid when I expressed concern. "Mom's just trying to help Elena. She's been planning society weddings for years. Trust her expertise." Trust. Such a simple word. But it would end up costing us more than just money. The problem started small. The florist called to confirm we'd switched all the white roses to red, a change I'd never approved. The invitation printer somehow lost our elegant minimalist design in favor of something that looked like a Baroque explosion. The wedding planner quit suddenly, citing communication issues. "Just wedding jitters," Diana assured Michael each time I raised concerns. "Elena's becoming quite the bridezilla, isn't she? So obsessed with every little detail." I tried to keep the peace. Really, I did. Diana was going to be my mother-in-law, and Michael adored her. On paper, she was perfect. Wealthy widow, prominent in Boston society, charity board member. But something about her perfectly coordinated outfits and ever-present iPad made me uneasy. Then came the venue disaster. "What do you mean canceled?" I stared at the email from the historic garden venue we'd booked a year in advance. "We put down a $15,000 deposit. They claim we missed the final payment deadline," Michael said, scrolling through his phone. "Mom says she tried to pay it, but there were issues with the transfer." I felt sick. We were 3 months from the wedding date, and suddenly our dream venue was gone. Diana quickly swooped in with a solution. Her country club had an opening on our date. Wasn't that fortunate? The cake shop was next. Apparently, our order had been changed to Diana's preferred flavors. Then the photographer had a scheduling conflict. The band was double booked. One by one, our carefully chosen vendors disappeared, replaced by Diana's much better recommendations. "You're lucky to have such a helpful mother-in-law," my own mother said when I confided my suspicions. "Most brides would be grateful." But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. Maybe it was the way Diana's smile never quite reached her eyes, or how she corners vendors at the tastings, whispering behind her hand, or the strange satisfaction in her voice when she'd announced the latest unfortunate change to our plans. The breaking point came during the dress fitting. I'd saved for months to afford my dream gown, a sleek, modern design that made me feel like a goddess. Diana had pushed for a traditional ball gown, but for once I'd stood firm. When I arrived at the boutique for my final fitting, the owner looked confused. "But Mrs. Anderson was here yesterday to cancel the order. She said you found a different dress." I felt the room spin. "She what?" "She had your written authorization." Jake pulled up one final document, a prenuptial agreement Diana had drafted but hadn't shown us yet. "Control," he said simply. "This wedding was never about helping you. It was about making you look incompetent, unstable. See this clause? If you divorce Michael within 5 years, he keeps everything, including your joint assets, and guess who would control those assets as trustee?" I felt cold. Diana hadn't just been sabotaging our wedding. She'd been setting me up for financial ruin. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, surrounded by evidence of Diana's betrayal. Michael was at another emergency vendor meeting with his mother, probably being fed more lies about his unstable, demanding fiancé. My phone buzzed. A text from Diana. "Darling, bad news about the caterer. But don't worry, I have it handled. Try not to get too upset. Michael's so worried about your stress levels." I looked at my wedding binder, now filled with documentation of Diana's schemes instead of color swatches and flower arrangements. The rehearsal dinner was tomorrow night. All the family would be there, including the wealthy society friends Diana was so desperate to impress. Time to show everyone exactly who was handling things. I picked up my phone and dialed Jake. "Remember that video surveillance you got from the venue? Edit it into something presentable. We're going to need it tomorrow night." "You sure about this?" he asked. "It'll destroy her." I thought about all the other couples whose weddings Diana had ruined, about the prenup designed to trap me, about Michael still believing his mother's lies. "Yes," I said firmly, "it's time for Diana's final wedding performance." The grand ballroom at the Somerset Hotel was Diana's choice for the rehearsal dinner, of course. Crystal chandeliers, gilt mirrors, and enough old money gathered in one room to fund a small country. Perfect for her final performance, just not the one she had planned. I arrived early, watching the hotel staff set up the projector screen. For the wedding slideshow, Diana had announced, planning to showcase photos of Michael growing up. She had no idea I'd switched the USB drive while she was busy directing the flower arrangements. Elena, darling. Diana air-kissed my cheeks when she arrived, resplendent in designer silk. You look nice. Her pause spoke volumes about what she thought of my outfit choice. Though I did send over that lovely channel suit. Must have gotten lost in all the confusion, I said sweetly, like our original venue deposit. Something flickered in her eyes, uncertainty, but her smile never wavered. Water under the bridge, dear. Tonight is about family. Yes, it certainly was. The ballroom filled quickly. Michael's family was old Boston money. Judges, surgeons, corporate executives. Diana worked the room like a politician, stopping at each table to whisper and laugh. I caught fragments. Poor thing, so controlling. Michael's been so patient. Michael arrived late, straight from a client meeting. He looked exhausted. The strain of the past months showed in the new lines around his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. Diana's manipulation was wearing him down too, even if he didn't realize it. Everything okay? He asked, kissing my cheek. Mom said something about problems with the table settings. Don't worry, I squeezed his hand. Everything's about to be very clear. Dinner was an elaborate 6-course affair. I barely touched my food, watching the clock. Diana had planned her slideshow for precisely 8:30 p.m. Early enough to keep the older relatives happy, late enough for everyone to be relaxed from the wine. At 8:25, she clinked her crystal glass, rising gracefully to address the room. Family, friends, honored guests, she began, every inch the society matron. We're gathered here to celebrate love, the love between my wonderful son Michael and his chosen bride. Another pointed pause. I've prepared a little presentation. Actually, I stood, my voice carrying clearly across the suddenly quiet room. I have something to share first. Diana's perfect smile froze. Elena, dear, we agreed. We agreed on a lot of things. I cut in smoothly, like the venue deposit you stole, the vendors you paid off, the dress order you canceled. The room erupted in murmurs. Michael started to rise, but I touched his shoulder gently. Wait. Watch. I pressed play. The projector screen lit up with surveillance footage. Diana at our original venue, handing an envelope to the manager. Diana meeting our photographer in a coffee shop, more cash changing hands. Split-screen bank statements showed the money trail, deposits redirected, refunds pocketed. Over the past 3 months, I narrated as the evidence played out. Diana has stolen approximately $50,000 from our wedding budget. But that's not the real story. New footage appeared. Diana running the same scam on other couples. Dates, names, amounts scrolled across the screen. Years of systematic fraud, all meticulously documented. Stop this at once. Diana's voice shook with rage. She lunged for the projector remote, but Michael's father caught her arm. Let it play, Diana, he said quietly. The final slide was the prenup she planned to spring on us. The trap designed to ensure I'd lose everything if I ever tried to leave. When the screen went dark, the silence was deafening. Diana stood frozen, her perfect mask cracking as she looked around the room. The wealthy friends she cultivated, the family she manipulated, all staring at her with dawning horror. I can explain, she began, but Michael cut her off. Explain what? Mom, how you stole from us? How you tried to destroy my wedding? How you've apparently been doing this for years? I was protecting you, she cried. She's not right for you, can't you see? She's not from our world. Your world of fraud and theft? I asked quietly. You're right, I'm not. Michael's father stood up, his voice heavy with authority. The police are on their way, Diana, and the DA's office is very interested in all those other couples you scammed. You can't. She whirled to face me, masks completely gone now. I'll tell everyone what you really are, a gold-digging nobody who tricked my son. Enough. Michael's voice cut through her hysteria. He was holding the prenup, reading it with growing anger. You were going to make me sign this? Set up my wife to lose everything. To protect you, she insisted. Everything I did was to protect you. No, he said quietly. Everything you did was to control me, and I let you for far too long. The police arrived minutes later. They were very interested in Jake's evidence, particularly when several other victims stepped forward from Diana's social circle. Apparently, we weren't the only couple she targeted, just the first to fight back. As they led her away, Diana turned to make one final plea to Michael. But he was holding me, his arms protective, his choice clear. The wedding was postponed, of course. We needed time to process everything, to rebuild what Diana had tried to destroy. Michael spent weeks in therapy, unraveling years of his mother's manipulation. We got married 6 months later. Small ceremony, close friends and family only. No society photographers, no grand ballroom. Just us, our love, and the truth that had made us stronger. Diana pled guilty to multiple counts of fraud. The judge, unsympathetic to her claims of maternal concern, sentenced her to 5 years. She'll have plenty of time to think about the real meaning of family. Michael's father gave us back every penny she stole with interest. We used it to buy our first home, far from Boston society, close to the ocean we both love. Yesterday we got a letter from one of Diana's other victims. They're organizing a support group for families affected by her schemes. Your courage in exposing her gave us all strength, they wrote. Michael held me as we read it together. You know what's ironic? He said softly. Mom always said you weren't good enough for our family, but you were the only one strong enough to save it. I thought about Diana in her designer suits, orchestrating her elaborate deceptions, about the shallow world of society appearances she tried to preserve, about the real strength it takes to stand up for truth, no matter the cost. We saved each other, I told him. That's what real family does. The society pages still whisper about Diana's downfall, but we're writing our own story now, built on honesty and trust instead of manipulation and lies. Sometimes the happiest endings come not from the perfect wedding, but from having the courage to fight for what's real. And that's worth more than all the crystal chandeliers in Boston.